Now we're going to move on to the AFC South. A very competitive division, and they've got if a couple of these teams do their job this offseason, I can see any team in this division coming out as the winner next year. Really,
every single team has a chance to make a jump into division winner playoff type of team.
So I guess we'll just start with the division winner, Tennessee. They've been running their hot hand. Luckily, they were godsend Ryan Tannehill off of his situation with Adam Gase. And
although we're about to find out, Arthur Smith's in Atlanta now. Was Ryan Tannehill?
I think that's a big deal.
Jump,
I think that's a big deal for Derrick Henry as well because Arthur, before either of them even played together, before they got Arthur Smith, neither of them were the player they are. They were. Derrick Henry was there before Arthur Smith, and he wasn't the running back he was. And Ryan Tannehill, he wasn't the player he was under Adam Gase, but no one's to blame except for Adam Gase in that situation, really. But if this is a team that could regress off of losing a coach, that happens a lot, and this is a team that's primed for that. Especially if we see some way that Atlanta gets back on their feet really quickly. Their head coach, a defensive guy, and their defense has fallen apart recently. They've got some problems. They're slipping. Their window is closing. Their guys are older. I think they had a 4-year window. They've already tossed 2 years out of the way.
And
now.
Listen, to be honest with you, they've probably seen the best that Derrick Henry will ever be.
That's the crazy thing. I want to see. I mean, if there's anybody who could rush for 2,000 yards a second time, I'll give it to him. But I have to see it. You probably just got your best Derrick Henry year out of him. At least you paid him for it. So, also, then look, the stars like Byard that they had haven't stepped up as much. Byard and I say the corner from USC that they have, Mr. Adoree Jackson. They haven't stepped up to be the players this year that they were. They've got to fix that defense. That defense got problems. But I also think that some of the things that I went along with fixing them this offseason, like I restructured Tannehill to free up some more money and Henry and Byard. But I think
those are your core guys.
They really need to go get a pass rusher. They might be hurting the guys in their secondary because their pass rush is so bad. It's unfortunate that Mr. Vic Beasley and Jadeveon Clowney, they busted out so badly this year.
Yeah, that's the story of their careers almost.
Tennessee's got to be pretty sad that Shaq Barrett went back to Tampa Bay because I could have seen him as a good potential team that could have thrown some good money at him. So I know they're probably disappointed that he's going back, but they got to go get one of those Baltimore guys. I've got him priced at 3 for 51. I think they got to go get one of those Baltimore guys. They need to go get a 3-4 pass rusher to pair with their young guy, Harold
Who do you
Landry.
like more, Judon or Yannick?
For Tennessee, in general, I think those are about equal players. Neither of them are super impressive to me. I think Yannick is a better pass rusher. I think Judon is a better player. But
Tennessee really needs a pass rusher, though.
So if I was them, I'd go get Ngakoue.
Okay.
But I could see them getting Judon because they already have Harold Landry, and he holds that role of elite pass rusher on their system. But maybe they need to go get 2 elite guys, and they've got Simmons. So if they could get another pass rush, they got guys that got talent in the secondary that can do it. But if they can't get Ngakoue or Judon, I also could see them looking out for Leonard Floyd. He'd fit that scheme pretty well. I got him priced. You probably have to get him. All those guys are probably coming for in that 3 for 51 million price range. I also think they got to re-sign Desmond King, and that's really all they have. That's really all they can do. As you see, they've already lost Jonnu Smith.
Why did the Chargers just give away Desmond King?
Yeah, that's apparently they weren't going to resign him. They weren't going to resign him, but the coaching staff is gone. So that's what happens when you let lame duck coaching staffs and management lay around. Things just happen, and you just wonder. I think you could get Desmond King for 3 for 30, $10 million per. That's good for a slot hybrid corner.
That can't sound light for Desmond King, but I understand.
I think he has overrated, but I don't think his value is going to be as crazy as people think. He's probably like the 4th best corner on the market. Corner, receiver, and pass rush are some competitive markers this year, and I think after the first guys jump off, that second tier guys are going to be. They're going to be hard to get those big deals this year, I think.
So should Tennessee be considered the favorite this coming season?
I don't know. I really we're going to move on to Indiana and Jacksonville. I really like the prospects of those teams. So, but I guess they're going to win 9.5 games. If they're over under, I'd set them at 9.5 games for an over under. And I'd probably over. They'll probably be a 10-11 win team.
Oh wow.
They'll be in the playoffs for sure, probably though. Barring any major injuries. But now I guess we'll move on to Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, who spent 20 straight years with franchise quarterback play, now find themselves in a quarterback conundrum. They traded for Carson Wentz earlier this offseason for a 2 and a 3, but the 2 can possibly become a 1 depending on how good Carson Wentz is, and the jury is definitely out on that. People understand that I'm not extremely high on Carson Wentz, but I understand why the Colts made the move, because Phillip Rivers obviously retired. He's definitely better than a Jacoby Brissett type of filler and kind of starter, and the upside of Carson Wentz still remains that you pray that you could Frank Reich can return him to that level that he was in 2017, but I'm not entirely convinced. But Indianapolis is still sitting on $45 million in cap space. They had a stud defense last year, although Xavier Rhodes is hitting the free agency market again. But
very surprised to see him revive his career, because he looked very done in Minnesota.
He definitely looked about done in Minnesota. For him to come to Indianapolis with Matt Eberflus coaching up that defense, and a very good coach that the Cowboys out the door. He managed to turn around and go back to have one of his better seasons, and that's what makes Xavier Rhodes so tricky, because he's up there in age. He had a couple of down years, but his most recent year was very, very good. I don't really know how to price out Xavier Rhodes at this point. It's probably better for them to just let him walk and try to either adjust position in the draft or in free agency with a couple of young guys. They have more than enough cap space to do it. They really got big time needs at tackle, at edge, and at corner.
That tackle need it's unfortunate. Their left tackle retired. I can't think of his name right now.
Costanzo?
Yeah. He was in the league was he in the Lane Johnson draft class 2013?
Yeah, they got some good value out of Costanzo. They definitely managed. They got a good 5 to 8 years of solid tackle play, but now they got to move on. You got Quentin Nelson holding down the foundation in the interior.
You think they'll send him to play left tackle? That's the rumors.
I mean, if they can't find a guy in free agency, there are a couple tackles in the free agency market and in the draft. If they can't find one there, I definitely think you can think about moving Quentin Nelson over to tackle. But would you rather have Quentin Nelson as an elite guard or a very good tackle? Especially if you could find a replacement.
I think Quentin Nelson is the best offensive lineman in the league, so I think you can get an elite tackle play out of him. But I have to see it, of course. It hasn't been proven, but I believe if they can't find a left tackle, that putting him at left tackle would be their best move, probably.
And as for the Colts, I think the Colts only make a move like Carson Wentz if they're trying to go win it right now. And if we're going to try to go win it right now, I think the Colts need to go big game hunting. So my first target for them is Mr. Trent Williams. We saw that Trent Williams, like Xavier Rhodes, just revitalized his career in a new situation. 1 year, excellent season. Now there's rumors that Trent Williams is likely staying in San Francisco. They have more than enough money to pay him to, but if somehow they can get a meeting with him and throw him 3 for 65, 3 for 70, try to overpay to get a guy who could come in and protect Carson Wentz, I think that would be very, very good for Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's the big fish that I think a lot of people have him as the number 1 free agent. That's the big fish, because everybody needs left tackles.
Yeah.
I think yesterday we talked about him going to Miami.
We talked about Trent Williams going to a few places.
Yeah, he's the big fish. Miami, I've got him down for a few people. I really wonder where he's going to land. We've got more teams to talk about, so of course we'll save that final prediction for the end. But he's a guy that's got...
You might get news today.
Yeah. He's a guy that's got a lot of value, so I could see a lot of teams going crazy for him.
But next up on the list, instead of them, it's not that Shaq Barrett has clearly re-signed with the Tampa Bay Bucks for a team-friendly deal, and the next best edge on the market would be Carl Lawson from Cincinnati. You know, Cincinnati does not like to pay guys for whatever reason. They just draft, develop, and become a farm system for the rest of the league, and the latest guy is going to be Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson, who a little undersized and definitely got underdrafted in his draft class, has shown the ability to be a big-time pass rusher in this league. And in a league that affecting the quarterback is much more important than setting the edge or stuffing up the run, I think Carl Lawson in that 4-3 scheme that Matt Eberflus is running in Indianapolis would be a perfect fit at right end to help get after the quarterback. They need edge help, especially in the division with Deshaun Watson, with Ryan Tannehill. You got to be able to get after the quarterback.
And yeah, he's a player. He's an interesting player. He's got to be a top 5 free agent this offseason, in my opinion. Everybody needs pass rushers, and I think where he goes will be a big deal. definitely believe he'll get overpaid.
It was not, but seeing Shaquille Barrett get 4 for 72, I think you could probably get called for like 4 for 80, 4 for 82, 83. Like give him the what Olivier Vernon got a few years ago to bring him in, pair him up with DeForest Buckner. You can really do a good job being after the quarterback in the interior and on the edge. And his teammate William Jackson is should be their next target. We know Xavier Rhodes had a really good season for them last year, but he's getting up there in age. Indianapolis has money. William Jackson is entering the prime of his career and has shown the ability to be a number one caliber corner in this league. I think if you go throw him 15, 16, 17 million, make him y'all number one guy, draft another guy, Indianapolis can turn that defense that was already very good last year into elite. And if you're carrying an elite defense, then all you need is for Carson Wentz to be a good player and you're a surefire division winner and maybe even an AFC contender.
Definitely. This is a team if I pick the team, I think this team is going to win 12 games. This is a 12-win team if things break right for them. They have a good GM, good coach. I believe if they can fix Carson Wentz, they'll be fine. And on offense, that defense was better than I thought. I wonder how good it really is because, they played some of those Jets and Bengals games, and that could boost up your defensive numbers. But they did have that good game against Aaron Rodgers in the comeback, so it's a real defense that needs a couple more pieces. I think they need a piece at safety. Do you think they can address that this offseason?
With the most of the quality safeties getting tagged, and we're saying with the teams because not everyone recognizes the value of elite safety play. I think it'd be hard to justify throwing a bunch of money at Anthony Harris from Minnesota or John Johnson from LA because those aren't exactly tier 1 type of guys. So I think it'd be better suited to throw that money at corner, which is a more valuable position anyway, and William Jackson is younger, and you could definitely, I think that's more of an impactful upgrade to position than it would be to go after a big fish at safety.
Definitely. Well, that's all for Indianapolis, so I guess now we're going to move on to everyone's favorite team to discuss about nowadays, these offseason, Houston. Well, we know definitely Houston has lots of problems, starting with that quarterback problem. So, I had the trade, so I've got them breaking, and I wouldn't break, and I don't think they will break. But in a real-world situation, I would break, because if your quarterback tells you he wants to go, you kind of got to let him go for the right price. And in my opinion, I would only take it for the right price. That Washington deal is the only deal I would touch. I'd want Chase Young and the Allen kid and the few picks from Washington for Deshaun Watson. It's gonna hurt, but they can rebuild this. That's the best you could get probably to recoup. Along with cutting Cooks, you could make some moves to get this team going in the right direction. They've messed this situation up. It's probably prime for a blow up. It sucks for that GM because he probably didn't think he was walking into the situation in Caserio, where he had to probably trade away his quarterback.
Even worse for the Mr. David Culley, head coach. He looks like he's in the same situation as the guy for the Houston Rockets is.
Unfortunately for him, he's hated by Steve Smith Sr., so he probably never had a chance. But if I was them, after you make the trade, cut Cooks, because they should have never traded for him. They had an all-time bad offseason last year.
Yeah,
they had one of the worst offseasons I've ever seen in my life last year, probably. But for them, I just went and sucked it up. And a one of the players I had him targeted was Jonnu Smith, and he came off the market this morning. So for them, I just got him. I'd throw a 3-year, $55 million contract at Yannick Ngakoue. They need a pass rusher.
Yeah.
And I'd also go and get Dalvin Tomlinson for the max money I give him.
So
I got him
DJ Reader replacement and a JJ Watt replacement.
I've got him going for Dalvin for 3 for 35. They need to stop. They suck at stopping your run. They've got to play Derrick Henry every year, twice a year, and they can't give up 250 a game playing Derrick Henry every year. That's not going to help. And Indianapolis has a nasty run game with Jonathan Taylor coming up.
James Robinson just went for 1,400 yards in Jacksonville.
And it's probably because they got to play the Houston Texans twice a year last year. So Dalvin Tomlinson and Yannick Ngakoue, they got to fix that front. And I got the guy you got going to New England. I got him sucking up and going to go get Ryan Fitzpatrick back to be their stopgap quarterback for the quarterback they drafted in the draft with the trade picks they get. So, Not much. I think this is clearly the worst team in this division.
Clearly.
Houston's got it bad right now. Sucks for that city. Well, now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the last team that we haven't talked about, but the most interesting team in my opinion.
Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, so man, Jacksonville, they kicked off the season by beating Indianapolis in Week 1, and then
they tanked it out
the rest of the season.
They tanked it out.
Hey,
they was
did
like
it perfectly.
They didn't want to go 0-16. It's okay, I understand.
Somehow they out-tanked the Jets, which, since we know the Jets aren't good at doing anything, it makes sense that Jacksonville will find a way to fall into the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes.
Did they become the luckiest team this offseason?
I mean, if people are thinking this guy's going to be the next Peyton, the next Andrew Luck, and for the whole year it looked like the Jets were going to go ahead and take him over, and all of a sudden, Jacksonville, Urban Meyer, #1 overall, it just seems to make
Let's
perfect
pause
sense.
for a minute with that one. Urban Meyer. He finally making it to the NFL. I never thought he'd make it to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was never coming here to the NFL.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely surprising that Urban Meyer is here now, especially with all the scandals and health issues that he has dealt with over the years. But he seems to be revitalized and ready to go make an impact in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's sitting here with $72 million as usual. Jacksonville's got flush with cap space because they don't have any good players, and they got the #1 overall pick, so that takes quarterback definitely out of the equation for them, just because
No bridge or backup guy that you would like to get your hands on?
I mean, Jake Luton showed pretty well last year
against the Texans.
I thought Gardner Minshew's still around. They still have a couple of guys who showed that their ability to be quality, not quality, but able-bodied starting quarterbacks. But we know Trevor Lawrence is pulling up to start. It'd be the guy. There's no question about that. So I don't think there's a reason to really go invest too much in that quarterback position because we already know what they're about to do. But Jacksonville's got big needs on that defense. Basically, outside of Miles Jack, nobody else in that defense is really that talented, or despite picking top 5 in the draft every single year, but guys like Josh Allen, who really good rookie year but wasn't as good following up. Guys like Taven Bryan, who they took in the first round, aren't that great. They've like guys from Blake Jackson, Calais Campbell out the door. That team's in a total rebuild on defense.
So luckily they got picks. They got the picks from the Jalen Ramsey trade, so they've got picks and they got cap space. So they have the most potential.
Exactly. I went safety first overall. I said they should go after Anthony Harris, the safety from Minnesota. They definitely could use a veteran playmaker back there to coach up whatever young guys they need to add. And C.J. Henderson, who I like out of Florida last year, who's playing in his home area. I think pairing him with Anthony Harris can give you a couple of guys who have actual talent in the secondary, can give you a chance to guard the guys in the AFC South. I really thought they should have went big fish hunting with Shaq Barrett, but since Shaq Barrett is not around anymore, and Yannick Ngakoue will probably never go back, the edge options have definitely died down from what they were earlier on this year. I like Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson would be a good idea for them. Maybe a high upside signing into Jadeveon Clowney. There's a few free agents they could go after, but with those guys being locked up earlier on, it's going to be a lot harder for Jacksonville. But luckily the draft has plenty of guys at the top of the second who might get after the quarterback for you.
Definitely. Any other big signings you think they could get their hands on?
I think the next one is William Jackson. I know William Jackson's been popular on this show so far because so many teams need cornerback play, and William Jackson's the best guy on the market. Jacksonville's got the most cap space. You just see it make the most sense for them to go throw him big time money, pair him with C.J. Henderson, and you probably, hopefully, seal that position up for the next 5 years. If you can bring in Anthony Harris or William Jackson, pair them with C.J. Henderson, I think you got a real chance of having a quality secondary. As we've seen, it's definitely transitioning more to pass coverage helps to pass rush. So if you bring those guys in, maybe that'll help Josh Allen give a tick second or more to get after the quarterback. Maybe that'll help whoever else they have rushing getting after the quarterback in Jacksonville.
Definitely. So how many players did you got to bring? So how many total players, big names, is that bringing in?
That's probably about 3 or 4 names on the $72 million cap space that they're sitting with that they can use. That you're gonna have Trevor Lawrence on a rookie deal for the next 5 years. So they definitely should be spending the rest of their money upgrading that defense. I like DJ Chark already and the Mr. Chenault on that offense. James Robinson already shown the ability that he can play. There'll be other offensive talent available. They got 2 first-round picks. So maybe they can spend that little pick on Waddle or Pitts or whoever may fall to them at that Ram spot.
What about that offensive line?
And surprisingly, they tagged Cam Robinson.
It actually makes sense though, because they don't have a left tackle, so why just give away one?
Exactly. I saw they restructured earlier today. They restructured Andrew Norwell's deal. So
I thought they got the restructuring.
They restructured him. So the couple of guys who thought that might have been needs for them, they kept around. So it looks like they are gonna at least think that's what they're gonna roll with for now. And honestly, I don't think that's too much of an option for Trent Williams. I think Trent Williams at his age wants to play for a contender more than anything else. So that's why I didn't really make Trent Williams an option for them. But I do like maybe going after Joe Thuney, who could help really solidify the interior of that offensive line. That could definitely help. Trevor Lawrence is definitely capable of escaping on the edges, so sealing up the middle for him would be really nice.
Definitely. So I guess the last thing is, Houston's the only team that doesn't have a chance of winning this division next year.
I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense with or without Deshaun Watson.